Week 2 of college football is over, and week 3 is at our heels, nipping at us, because we have a juiced lineup, and I have some amazing picks and plays that we are going to talk about today on our week 3 best bets, right? So let's button our shirts, let's sip our coffee, and let's make some picks. Now, week 2, I didn't make any bets for 2 reasons. 1, I was really busy. 2, I was looking at the slate a little bit, doing a little bit of research with the time I had, and to be honest, I wanted to fucking vomit. It was not a good lineup, but this week is different. Week 3 looks amazing. I got some massive plays that we are going to talk about, that we are going to bet on, and make some fucking money. Okay, so we went 3-3 in week 1. What did we learn? Don't bet on a Big 12 team to beat the SEC. Don't bet against Ohio State. And sometimes you make the right read on one team, but another team fucks you over. So let's get into our week 3 best bets and picks. Our first bet of week 3, we are going down to the great state of Georgia, where we have Clemson playing at Georgia Tech. And we are going to go under 54.5 for this game. Here's why. Clemson's offense has been disastrous. It has been disgusting to watch. They averaged 1.6 yards per rush week 1 and just 3.9 yards per rush in week 2 versus Troy. Their run game has been terrible. Their EPA per run is minus 0.2, EPA per pass minus 1.5. They're not passing any better. Their their points per play average is 73rd in the country, and their third down conversion rate is 101st in the country. For a team that was one of the favorites to win the national championship going into the season, they have been really bad. And don't get me wrong, I think they will continue to get better. They looked better at the second half of the last week's game, but they're playing Troy. Georgia Tech, while not a super team, is much better than Troy. Pace of play. Georgia Tech, 57th in plays per game and 95th in plays per second. They want to slow the game down. What is Clemson like? 117th plays per game, 50th in plays per second. Both of these teams don't want to move really fast. We know Georgia is a run-heavy team. They want to control the clock, especially against a Clemson team that, even though they've struggled, is still really good. Clemson passing game has been just as bad as their running game, and Antonio Williams, as I'm recording this, is still questionable. So we're going to take Clemson at Georgia Tech under 54.5. Next, we're going up to Lincoln Memorial, where we're not watching the Eagles. We're watching Oklahoma at Temple, and we are taking Oklahoma's points at minus 22.5. Now, that's a pretty big spread, but here's the thing. When Brent Venables plays against these smaller teams, this is what happens. In 2024, they beat Temple 51-3. They beat Maine 59-14. The year before, they beat Arkansas State 73-0 and Tulsa 66-17. And then in 2022, UTEP lost 45-13 versus the Sooners, and Kent State 33-3. They blow out these bad teams. And they kind of have to, because last game they have against Michigan, this game they have against Auburn. Now, some might call that a trap game, and I don't necessarily disagree, but if you're Oklahoma, if you're Brent Venables, you're telling this team, we have a crazy, crazy schedule coming up with Auburn. Then they have another week game, but then they got the SEC. They have all the SEC coming up. So they have to not only win this game, which I don't think is a question mark, but they need to just handle business, blow them out, no questions asked, get in a rhythm so that they can go face Auburn next week and get ready for the SEC schedule. And they've been doing that all season long. Their defensive success is 3rd in the country. They have a 100% success rate in the red zone, and they are 58th in points per play margin. They score, they don't let their opponents score. 23 points or above is an easy cover for Oklahoma at Temple. John Mateer is going to continue his Heisman run, take the points. Then we have my first double play of the season. We have SMU playing at new FBS team Missouri State. Now, Missouri State just got their first FBS win versus Marshall last week, but this Marshall team this year is bad. There's a reason that we didn't expect them to score any points in week 1 when we want to bet with them. So now we have Missouri State, who in week 1 got scored on by USC for 72 points. 72 points in week 1. SMU has scored 42 and 48 in their first 2 games of the season. That is why we're taking SMU minus 27.5, a team total of over 44.5. SMU will be putting points up in bunches. They're going to score plenty of points. Missouri State will not stay in this game. We think they cover and score that many points as a team. SMU is 10th in points per play, 7th in yards per points, and 7th in estimated points per game at 45. Kevin Jennings and this team are just an offensive juggernaut. The only question mark is if they take their foot off the pedal. But I think after last week's loss and a continued ACC schedule that's going to come up and make it harder for them to make the college football playoffs, they want to prove a point and just get this game over with, blow them out, no questions asked. SMU minus 27.5 and over 44.5 team total. Then for our 5th play of the day, we have Duke at Tulane, where we were taking Duke money line and basically a pick. Last week, Duke looked bad. They lost a turnover battle 6-0. They had multiple miscues in their own 25 versus Illinois. And with all that said, Mensah and this offense actually outgained Illinois in yardage. They had a 49% success rate and they averaged 7 yards per carry versus Illinois. They were moving the ball. They just had really bad turnovers. And this Tulane team, while not bad, is not as good as Illinois, and they were not forced the turnovers that Duke had. And last week, while Tulane did win the turnover battle themselves versus South Alabama, they got outgained themselves. And South Alabama is not good. So I think Tulane keeps it close. I do think it being at Tulane is a big advantage for them. They are not going to win this game. Duke bounces back and makes a push to contend in the ACC. Duke money line. So those are all of my official plays. We have 5 of them. Clemson, Georgia Tech the under, Oklahoma minus 22.5, Duke money line versus Tulane, and our double play in SMU for their points and their team total. Check your lines. Make sure they don't move anything crazy. Obviously, if they've changed since you're watching this video from when I recorded it, when I made my own bets, things change. Sometimes you got to think for yourself. Now, the parlay is not an official play. The first 5 picks are my official plays. This is not an official play, but it's still something I wanted to present to you guys, and you make your own decision. The point of the parlay that I make is these 5 bets are bets I don't love enough to make an official bet, but I still really like. So what I do is I list them all out. I have the original odds, and then I have an adjusted line, what we can make it to. I always keep the adjusted lines under 250. Why do I do that? If you're putting 5 bets or 5 legs in a bet, you still want to have some upside. So I cap the highest or the lowest odds I can do at minus 250. Another reason I picked 250 is a lot of times betting sites will have odds boost for parlays that usually a leg has to stay under or better than 250. The first pick of the parlay, we have NC State at Wake Forest. NC State did not look very good. And I know Wake Forest is not good either, but 7 points at our home stadium is a pretty good cushion. So if you make it 13.5, I really think Wake Forest can cover any of that range right there. Next, we have Oregon at Northwestern. And I know it's scary betting on a team like Northwestern to cover at all versus Oregon, because Oregon is one of the best teams in the country still. But I don't think Oregon is going to try to run up the score. They have big games coming up, including the Civil War and their game versus Penn State. I think they're just going to try to get the lead, rest some starters, and Northwestern is going to keep it close enough where anything from that plus 27.5 to plus 34.5 range is playable. Then we have Pittsburgh at West Virginia. The backyard brawl returns this year. And typically you'd expect this game to be really low scoring, but this Pittsburgh team can really air the ball out. Their passing game has been phenomenal this year, and they have a pretty good running back too. And we saw last week West Virginia get torched on the ground by Ohio. And while their passing and defense hasn't been exposed yet, I don't think it's needed to be exposed yet. So I think Pittsburgh, a team total of over 32.5 to 27.5 is playable in the parlay. Next, we have Oregon State at Texas Tech. This Texas Tech team is rolling. They're looking like the Big 12 favorites. Their defense has been great, but their offense has also been great. And Oregon State just hasn't been good. So I think Texas Tech by themselves put up most of these points, and I think Oregon State contributes just enough to get us to the over. The over is at 61.5. I do think that's playable, but you can drop it down to 54.5 to make it a little more safe for the parlay. Then we have Vanderbilt at South Carolina, where they're giving South Carolina -4 points. Vanderbilt has honestly looked better than South Carolina. They played the same opponent in Virginia Tech. South Carolina didn't look great last week, but to be honest, the South Carolina team is so much more talented than Vanderbilt. I think they're going to look at this game. It's a home game against a really good opponent. They're going to use it as a statement in order to help propel them into making a real college football push. Last year, they had the record to do it. They just didn't get the right of the flip of the coins. They're not giving anything chance this year. They're going to take care of every opponent that they can, or they're going to take care of every opponent that they should, so that, because again, you're not going to go undefeated in the SEC. They're going to lose a game here or there. So they can't lose to Vanderbilt if they want to win this game. So I think -4 is playable, but you can flip it to +2.5 to be a little careful. And that is the parlay. As always, bet responsibly. Do not use your bill money, your kids' lunch money on these bets. Bet fun, enjoy yourself, and let's go win some money in week 3 of college football.